Gofraid Uí Ímair was a Viking leader who ruled Dublin and briefly Viking Northumbria in the early 10th century. He was a grandson of Uí Ímair and a member of the Uí Ímair. Gofraid was most probably among those Vikings expelled from Dublin in 902, whereafter he helped his kinsman Ragnall conquer Northumbria. Another kinsman, Sitric Cáech, became ruler of Dublin around the same time. Ragnall died in 920, and so the following year Sitric left Dublin to rule in Northumbria, and Gofraid succeeded Sitric as ruler of Dublin. Sitric's early reign was marked by raids he conducted against the native Irish, including one at Ímar. Sitric Cáech died in 927 and Gofraid left for Northumbria, delegating authority in Dublin to his sons. This upset the sons of Sitric, who allied with a son of Helgi, possibly Tom Rare mac Ailchi of Limerick, and seized the city. This act began a period of conflict between the Vikings of Dublin and Limerick which would last until 937. Gofraid's attempt to rule in Northumbria was unsuccessful and he was driven out by Aethelstan of England within 6 months. He returned to Dublin to eject the sons of Sitric and continued to rule as king there. Following his return he led further raids, including attacks on Kildare and Dunmore Cave. In 931 he led an attack on a camp established by the Vikings of Limerick at Magrain, near the borders of Gofraid's kingdom, with the intent of containing Gofraid's power. Gofraid died of a sickness in 934 and he was succeeded as king by his son Amlab mac Gofraid. Background: the ruling Vikings of Dublin were expelled from the city in 902 by a joint force led by Mael Finnea mac Flannacan, Overking of Braga, and Serbal mac Muirchain, Overking of Leinster. Those Vikings that survived the capture of the city split into different groups. Some went to France, some to England, and some to Wales. Archaeological evidence suggests Dublin remained occupied in the years immediately following this expulsion, perhaps indicating only the ruling elite were forced to leave. However, Viking raids on Irish settlements continued, and in 914, a large Viking fleet travelled to Waterford. The arrival of this fleet marked the re-establishment of Viking rule over parts of Ireland, and was followed by more Vikings settling in Limerick the following year. The main historical sources for this period of the Norse sagas and the Irish annals. Some of the annals, such as the Annals of Ulster, are believed to be contemporary accounts, whereas the sagas were written down at dates much later than the events they describe and are considered far less reliable. A few of the annals, such as the fragmentary Annals of Ireland and the Annals of the Four Masters, were also compiled at later dates, in part from more contemporary material and in part from fragments of sagas. According to Downham, apart from these additions, Irish chronicles are considered by scholars to be largely accurate records, albeit partisan in the presentation of events. Biography: Gofraid is presumed to have left Dublin with the rest of the ruling Vikings in 902. In 917, the Irish annals describe two grandsons of Uí Ímair, Sitric Cáech and Ragnall, leading the fleets to Ireland. Sitric sailed his fleet to Cenfuait in Leinster, and Ragnall sailed his fleet to Waterford. Niall Glundub, Overking of the northern Uí Ímair, saw these Vikings as a threat, and he marched an army south to repel them. Sitric and his army fought against the men of the Uí Ímair at Magfemin in County Tipperary and claimed victory, though only through timely reinforcement by Ragnall and his army. This was followed by another at the Battle of Confey against Augher mac Ailella, Overking of Leinster, who died in the battle. Augher's death marked the end of effective opposition to the Vikings' return to Ireland. Sitric led his men on a triumphant return to Dublin, where he established himself as king, while Ragnall returned to England and soon became king of Northumbria. Gofraid is first mentioned in the Annals by the Annals of Ulster in 918, which describe him leading a battalion of troops at the Battle of Corbridge in northern England. This battle was fought between Ragnall and Constantine, son of Uí, the King of Scotland, and although it was indecisive, it allowed Ragnall to establish himself as king at York. In the Annals account, Gofraid is fully titled Gofraid Uí Ímair, making him brother or cousin of Ragnall and Sitric Cáech. Ragnall died in 921, with Sitric Cáech succeeding him as king of Northumbria. Gofraid is mentioned that by the Annals that same year as taking control of Dublin. One of his first acts as king of Dublin was to lead a raid on Ímar. According to the Annals of Ulster and the Annals of the Four Masters, the Dubliners ravaged a wide area, though the monastery and the prayer houses with the culdees and the sick were spared. A portion of the raiders who headed northwards to Magalisan were defeated by Éanit Mac Murchada and Muirkatach Mac Acutill, later king of Uilch, and were forced to flee, leaving many dead behind. Another raid was led by Gofraid in 924, this time sailing to the south of Ireland, taking many hostages. He took them to Roscarbery, and according to the Annals of Ulster he also sailed to Limerick, where he lost a large number of his followers in battle against the son of Ailchi, presumably Tom Rare Mac Ailchi. 2 years later his son Alban led a raiding force north, landing at Linduishall on the 4th of September. The raiders were attacked by the army of Muirkatach Mac Acutill, over-king of the northern Uí Acutill, at the bridge of Clonacramda on the 28th of December, and were routed. Alban and a large part of the force was killed, and around half of the army were besieged by the Uí Acutill at Athcrathan in County Down for a week, until a force led by Gofraid relieved them. In 927 Gofraid's kinsman Sitric Cáech, king of Northumbria, died. The Irish annals record that Gofraid left Ireland that year, along with a great many others from Dublin and Linz, to claim Sitric's throne. During his absence, it seems Gofraid delegated authority to his sons, thus drawing the ire of the sons of Sitric. Sitric's sons allied with a son of Helgi, probably Tom Rare Mac Ailchi of Limerick or kinsman, and conquered Dublin, though this success was short-lived as Gofraid returned after only 6 months abroad. Gofraid's attempt to rule in Northumbria was unsuccessful, and he was driven out by King Aethelstan. The Anglo-Saxon Chronicle makes no mention of Gofraid, simply stating that Aethelstan succeeded Sitric as king in Northumbria, and thereafter held a meeting with the other kings in Britain, establishing peace. A later account by William of Malmesbury tells a different story. In his version, Gofraid goes to Scotia following Sitric's death, and is to attend a meeting with Aethelstan at Dacre, along with Constantine II of Scotland and Owen of Strathclyde. Instead, he and a Viking ally called Thurfrath lead a force to York and besiege the city. Aethelstan turns on the Vikings and Gofraid is captured. The city is looted by the Anglo-Saxons and Gofraid is allowed to return to Ireland under oath. It is not certain how much of William's account is based on truthful historical sources and how much is made up. Following his return to Dublin, the next mention of Gofraid in contemporary is with regards to raids he led. In 929 he plundered Kildare, and the following year he plundered Dunmore Cave, killing 1,000 people in the attack. Expert opinion is divided, but it is believed that Dunmore Cave was perhaps being used as a temporary dwelling place, or perhaps as a place of burial for the native Irish. In 931 Gofraid left Dublin for Magrain in Ossory, where the rival Vikings of Limerick had set up a camp following a failed attack on Connaught the previous year. The annals report that Gofraid's aim was to expel a herd son of Uí Ímair from Magrain, perhaps one of the sons of Sitric who had seized Dublin in 927, probably allied with the Limerick-based Tomre mac Ailche. Downham suggests that the establishment of the camp at Magrain was an attempt by the Vikings of Limerick to limit the ability of Gofraid and his kin to project the power through Ireland. Chronicle evidence suggests the conflict between Dublin and Limerick lasted until 937, when Gofraid's son Amlaib won a victory at Loch Ree, where he captured the Limerick king Olaf Scabbyhead and destroyed his ships. Gofraid did not live to see this victory, having died in 934, with Amlaib succeeding him as king of Dublin. The annals of Ulster describe him as a most cruel king of the Norsemen, and say he died of a sickness family. In the annals, Gofraid is identified by the use of Uí Ímair, meaning grandson of Uí Ímair, but never with a patronymic. As such, it is not possible to identify which of the three known sons of Uí Ímair, if any, was the father of Gofraid. One possible reason for the lack of a patronym might be that Gofraid was the child of a son of Uí Ímair who never ruled Dublin, or who spent most of his time outside Ireland, thus making Gofraid's legitimacy to rule Dublin dependent the identity of his grandfather, not his father. Another possibility is that Gofraid was a grandson of Uí Ímair through a daughter, again with his right to rule dependent on his grandfather. Gofraid's kinsmen Uí Ímair, Sitric, Amlaib and Ragnall are the other known grandsons of Uí Ímair, identified by the use of Uí Ímair. All except for Amlaib ruled as either king of Dublin or king of Northumbria at one time or another. 4 individuals are identifiable as sons of Gofraid. His son Amlaib succeeded Gofraid as king of Dublin, and eventually reclaimed Northumbria for the Vikings too. Another son, Alban, was killed in battle against Muirkatach mac Acutil in 926. Blackhair mac Gofraid, king of Dublin from 940 to 945, was another son, as was Ragnall mac Gofraid, who ruled Northumbria in 943 and 944, probably along with his cousin Amlaib-Gofraid, until they were driven out by Edmund I of England. Later descendants include Caman mac Amlaib, son of Gofraid's son Amlaib, who is recorded as being defeated in battle in 960, and also in 962 if he is identical to the individual recorded as Sitric Cáech. Gofraid mac Amlaib are recorded by the annals as dying in 963, may have been a brother of Caman, or he may have been a son of Amlaib-Gofraid.